When we are thinking about the concept of learning, then we come to the idea of beliefs. What are beliefs? You know, in Christianity, the concept of belief is a different thing from when we talk about beliefs in psychology. And when we talk about beliefs in our daily life, it is altogether another thing. Because in Christianity, a belief is a darshana. You understand? So a darshana is not a belief, it is a cultured vision. So what is then belief? In the modern times, what we call belief is just, that convinces us. I'm convinced. When I say I believe, it simply means I'm convinced with all these things. Veda, Tantra, Agama, Buddhism, Christianity, Islam, they're not concerned with your convincing yourself. If it is that simple, Veda, which is like, I date into maybe many, many thousand years, wouldn't have been preserved in India. Christianity wouldn't have been preserved in India for the last 2000 years if it was that simple. Islam wouldn't have been preserved in the Middle Eastern region if it was that simple. It is because they are profound and they are able to take us, elevate us to freedom and to have a understanding, a superior understanding. Even the word understanding is a limited one. From that perspective, you have to have the darshan. And that darshan is your belief. But the other one is convincing ourselves. Convincing ourselves is a dangerous thing. It's like an ostrich burying our head into the sand and believing that there is no more danger to us. To say I believe something and to convince yourself is not belief. It's actually cheating yourself, deceiving yourself. So that is a psychological problem. And this psychological problem has to be forsaken. You have to drop it. You have to open up. So you don't believe no more. Don't convince yourself no more. You understand? So don't convince yourself. Every emotion, that is the lower emotion, upper emotion that I talk about, compassion, love, all the higher emotions that I talk about. But there is this little emotions, the emotions of fear, emotions, blah, 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 anger, all these little emotions. We are fostering these little emotions when we convince ourselves. Imagine, you really imagine, or please think, we have one birth in this planet. The argument about reincarnation, all this kind of stuff, let's put it away, all that kind of stuff. We don't want to go into all that. Now look at yourself. As yourself, you have a beautiful birth. You have a total potential. Now, this potential should not be limited. In this, if you look at yourself with the vastness of time, whether time is illusion, philosophical or not, don't bother with all that. Just think about the vastness of time, vastness of space, many, many lifetimes. Just think about it like that. Just think about it. And you will come to know that this is a very precious occurrence, that you are. Next lifetime, I'm enlightened, I'm this, I'm that. Who knows, I might be born as a hippopotamus in Africa. Who knows? For the karmas that I done in the past, God only knows, no? How can I assign myself to this entitlement that God, make me, nirvana now, No, God says, Mother, that's in my reserve. You go away. You will be a giraffe or a hippopotamus or something, right? So imagine if you are a hippopotamus or a giraffe, how much of trouble. Look at your cat, you will know how much of fighting on a daily basis it goes on scratching each other. So if you look at yourself like that, then you will see you are really very, very important and special. The true specialness, not the false psychological specialness. And when you are truly, aware of the fact that you are having a life in this planet, then how much you should not convince yourself? How much you should not deceive yourself? how much you should not confuse yourself. It's got to that level. And deceiving is okay. Now you are the special agent who confuses yourself. My God. I'm laughing all the time because what gave me the license to confuse myself? The whole idea of, spiritual culture is to get out of this comfortable convincing myself and confusing myself culture. So see, then belief becomes an enemy of ourselves. So when you look at all these things, then we have to do something to get out of this fear. When we are reading even the text, this is the problem that I was talking earlier and saying that, even the texts are misinterpreted, misread. If the texts are not misread, we all will have a same understanding. We all have splintered understanding. So when you look at all these things, we do not actually believe that belief is important. Darshana is different belief. Please don't confuse with the language and beliefs. We have to then, why I'm coming to this is because we have to change our culture. Our culture, how we see things, how much we have to bring in peace into our heart, which means our whole self, So when we bring in peace, then we are able to respect everybody in our environment. We are able to, that is the trick to being free. Your dharma is everybody's dharma. Everybody's dharma is your dharma. If you are looking at it from that experience, then you're freeing yourself in spiritualism. There is the little I is no more. When the little I is encouraged and fear is bred, and the culture of fear is put into ourselves, we are not able to be what we want to be. We only convince ourselves, I'm a great tantric. What is a great tantric? I also don't know. I'm studying Tantra for so many years, but what is a great tantric? Why am I saying it's a great tantric? Why don't I say I love this Tantra, instead of great and this and that? So how to get out of the bubble is to bust your culture. When I bust your culture, the next time I see you in the video, you won't be there. you will be like, one is God, the other one is God. It will be like that. But it's okay. I'm also ready for all that. Because I also believe that, like Bhagavan Sri Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, a million who listen to me, but only might be one who follow me. So it's like that because spiritual wisdom is quite bitter. And gurus are not popular because of this. They are always like, I got something more important to do. But yeah, when you say I got more important to do, the sadness is you're cutting short your own potential. And when you cut short your own potential, who am I to say what you shouldn't do and what you should do? Becomes a difficult problem. So then I look at all those people who are hiding themselves in fear, like the ostrich burying its head in sand and believing that everything is going to be all right. You know that song, Everything is going to be all right. Nothing is going to be all right because the problem will persist. It will trail us. It's like shadow. Shadows don't leave you. You understand? Shadows follow. And this is why psychology became a very important system in the Western world. Because after the war, people were shattered and you need to be reorganized. Societies had to be reorganized. People had to be installed actually. There was no soul, no nothing. There was a body. And then psychologists were saying, okay, come on, it's all right, everything is going to be all right. But the question is, how long do you want to stay in this bubble? How long do you want to believe? How long do you want to convince yourself? The agent of all this is the intellect, the intellectual beliefs. where we have ideas and mental constructs, and from these we have opinions, and we project into the world. According to my belief, my opinion, this is this. Rather than what is there. You know, to take things for what it is very important, you know, because then you have the ability to see far, not convince yourself. You know, do not convince yourself, because to convince yourself is to stop new insights. You know, you close yourself, and then new information doesn't come into us. And that is why whenever the students talk to me, I say, please read everything. But they cannot understand. Maybe they think I'm trying to be liberal for 1 minute. I'm not. I'm honestly not a liberal person. What I'm saying is, you cannot close all your ears and eyes and live in this planet. You need to keep on, you need to be open to everything, but you have to master something. And the mastery of something is either the Veda, the Agama, or Tantra, or whatever. There are many systems. In India itself, we have yoga. You know, yoga is, you know, you're talking about Tantra, mantra, all this. You know, yoga is a very beautiful system to check if I am fraying from my path, if I am, you know, just talking, you know, speculating, intellectualizing speculation, all that are there, you know, believing, convincing myself, all that. Yoga says, okay, now get up in the morning or whatever time, now do that, do the asana. When you do the asana, you are all will come. You know, you'll be crying for all this, you know, salvation from all the divinities and everything, you know. So when you are doing that, you actually move on to the next phase of experience, that you are able to now think rationally. A lot of people don't like this, so I usually don't talk about it, because to do something like yoga and to get to the next level, better I read and sit here, you know. So, so all these are there. So believing is a very sad problem. So you shouldn't believe. The other is that, you know, you are striving for knowledge. Are you really striving, or you are just so insecure that you're putting all the, you know, things to just cover up for your insufficiency? Good question. You know, is my practice to honor the real, or to honor my bubble? Am I studying all this to just to, you know, feel better than the other person? This is a good question to ask. You know, don't say anything, but just ask in the free times. Just ask yourself: am I trying to convince the other human being that I'm a better person? That's the idea of I am special. You know what I'm trying to say? We don't need to be that kind of special, because that is coming from fear. You know, I rather be with the whole human world. First be with the human world, and my fictions will be lost. You know, and then you study the Veda, study the Agama, study the Tantra to master them, which means you have to reformat your culture, and that will reformat your brain. You know, to reformat all this is important, so that we don't live in fear, we don't augment fear, we don't keep on going in fear and I'm special. You know, so to refabricate, so to look for knowledge. I'm talking, I will tell you where I'm talking. You know, there is a very famous book called Siddhartha, you know, by Hermann Hesse. It's a German book, you know. It's a very small, like, you know, half an hour, maybe, okay, maybe two days reading maximum, you know. And this book, Siddhartha is this, you know, son of a very prominent Brahmin person, and he's looking for knowledge. And then he has one more person who is following him called Govinda. Govinda is a Buddhist. Siddhartha is a seeker. You know, Hermann Hesse was writing about this. That is why I don't like the word seeking, seeking, seeking out. You know, seeking is always like running after your own shadow. You know, that's why I say like don't seek, because Hermann Hesse wrote this book, I think, in the last century, and Siddhartha is a central character who's always looking for knowledge, and he was never satisfied, and he was always looking. And then the other one is Govinda. Govinda is one who was always following. He was following Siddhartha. These are two kids. Actually, they're 16 years old or 14 years old, and they leave the house, blah, blah, blah. And then you know, it's a fiction. Okay, don't confuse with the real Buddha, the Gautama Buddha, Siddhartha Buddha. Don't confuse with it. It's a very nice one for us to think. So believing is Govinda in that book. Not like the Christian idea of darshan and belief, but the simplistic idea of just convincing myself. So he was only convincing himself. But the question is, Siddhartha was also convincing himself. You know what I'm saying? Because Siddhartha was seeking for the unknown, the eternal Brahman. You know, everybody is seeking for this eternal Brahman. And I was listening to one guru, I forgot his name, only one clip I saw. He's a very interesting person in North India. He was sitting by a river, you know, and saying that if you can see the rickshawala and the vegetable wala and every wala as Brahman, that's where Brahman is. He's saying, you don't look at the sky and here and there. Can you wake up in the morning and look at the vegetable wala as a Brahman? Because he was such a beautiful Guruji. And I was like, wow, this is very nice. Because when you can look at everybody as the expression of Brahman, Atman is the expression of Brahman. His way of saying is that, you know, first do that before you go and look for the Brahman. It's very difficult. This box that we call Brahman, Jaratva, that Bhagavan Sri Abhinav Gupta very beautifully always says, you know, your Brahman is cooked in the cage of a box, like, you know, a Jaratva thing that is there, you know. And that Jaratva is not Brahman. To know Brahman is not an easy process, because even, you know, you look at the Guru Nanak Ji, he's always saying, you know, Satnam, Satnam, because he says, I cannot say, because when I say his name, I'm limiting him to nothing, you know. So it's a good thing, because it's not something like he says, I don't know. No, he's not saying that. I'm saying that the finite and the infinite has to be understood in its proper context. Otherwise, we will call it finite as Brahman. You know what I'm saying? So you need the infinite, the pure absolute is Brahman. That is the meaning of the Sanskrit word Brahman anyway. So, to know is not enough in our culture, you know, our spiritual culture of the world. That's why nobody gives two hoots if you got a PhD in, say, Advaita or Advaya or whatever. Nobody cares. It's your problem. If you're going in the Maidan and practicing, you know, some physical exercise, it's not my problem. You feel that you're not strong enough, so you want to maintain your body, you jump around. Is it my problem or is it your problem? So for the Guru traditions, you know, these are not aspects to assert on. You know, what we have to do is very beautiful. We have to slowly, you know, like I always used to say, unpeel our onion. You know, we are like onions. As we unpeel our layers of whatever dramas that we put into ourselves, the layers of drama is psychological in this, because the way we walk all our life, you know, I'm not talking about physical walking, how we created our mental ideas, how we cultured ourselves. You know, we can always blame father, we can blame mother, but until we take responsibility and say, like, no, I walk this way. Okay, let me not walk the same way. Let me be free. Let me not walk as a coward. Let me walk as a loving human being. You know, just for a very basic, simple thing. Look at Sri Krishna and Arjuna. Walk like Krishna. I'm not saying like copy him. I'm just saying, you cannot copy. It's Brahman. Sri Krishna is Brahman. You can read throughout the Bhagavad Gita is Brahman. So he's saying, I am Om, I am Pranava, I am the Om, I am the Prana, I am Brahman, I am this. So please don't try to be, you cannot. Then, you end up with the next village, the next woman, and you next divorce, and next that, and next this. No, that's not how to do it. You cannot copy Bhagavan Krishna or Bhagavan Shiva, then you end up with snakes, So don't do all that. Please look at your mirror, look at yourself, and say, I'm going to love myself. I'm not going to fall into the category of fear. I don't want that. I don't want to be expressing this convincing myself culture, which is actually rooted in insecurity and fear. I want to convince myself to be special because I am feeling that I'm not special. So try to remove the insecurity that is deep within us. Then it becomes like almost psychological. Fear of abandonment, fear of rejection. That becomes then how we are looking at ourselves, how we perceive ourselves. When we get rid of all these perceptions, these false perceptions that we walk, we organized, we engineered. Please remember, not your mother and father, but we engineered. Maybe mother and father told like you are the most handsome guy, and then until you meet Kamala Hassan or something, you start crying or something like that. You know what I mean? I don't know. We all are handsome is how you have to learn to think. We all are beautiful is how you have to think. You understand? And how is beauty or handsome or something measured? It's my mind that is measuring, right? So who is deciding diamond is better than pearl and pearl is less than diamond? The human mind. So we shouldn't do all that. Can you stop doing all that and say like everything is fine? I think so. I think because once we give more emphasis to the organic nature of our lives, and not participate in the falsity, the plastic culture that decorates, no, not worth. For me, not worth. For me, not worth. I decided it is not worth long ago because what am I doing? I build a house, then I put a lot of bathrooms. In India, we had a hut, but hut, I was very happy with that hut. My toilet was outside. That was also nice, because I'm not living in a winter climate to do all this nonsense. I can walk out anytime. There's bright stars. Why do I want to make a big castle and big small holes and look for enemies in the holes? Sit there 24 hours looking for enemies. Who is coming? Don Quixote is coming with his horse. I don't want all this Don Quixote and all these kind of things. I am truly looking and appreciating, this is Brahman, this is Shiva, this is everything.